Welcome back to Roughing with the Sappers. Today we'll be reviewing tips and tricks that I wish that I had when first started refereeing. We'll start off with why refereeing is such a great job for teenagers. The first one is you get a super flexible schedule. You can take days off. You can tell the assigners when you actually want to work during the day. If your family is going on vacation or you just want to hang out with friends on that day, then you can just mark yourself as unavailable and the assigners will give you no games that day. The next point is that it has great pay. Let's look at a club that we commonly work for and their pay scale. I started out as an AR when I first started, and I earned $25 per game as an AR for recreational U11 and U12. For those games, I did 10 games over the entire weekend. For that, I got $250. 250 was just the starting baseline for me. As you increase in levels, once you get into like competitive games, the pay scale increases dramatically for a CR and an AR. These games are also very entertaining. You just get to watch and referee a soccer game, and the time passes by super quickly. Even though you're out there for an hour, it really doesn't feel like that. It also keeps you very physically active. You're just running up and down the sideline. It's not really physically taxing, but it does keep you running and walking throughout the entire hour. Lastly, there are great stories to share with friends. I'll have classmates and friends come up to me asking me what crazy story happened this week, and I will be gleeful to tell them the crazy stories about parents, players, and coaches that I've experienced over the weekend. More obnoxious, the better.
Let's talk a little bit about how you go about finding and working with assigners. So, the first is just search for your local soccer clubs, find their website, and find the assigner's contact information. If I look at another local club that we often referee for, this one's Rockland, they've got a referee section here. I can go to their referee facts and it pulls up immediately. Very first question is, how do I reach out to my referee assigner for this club? That same type of information is available on almost every club's websites. You do need to understand that the assigners choose which refs work for each games. It is important that you build a relationship with those assigners so that they begin to trust you and they know who you are so that you can start getting those games. Don't be shy about reaching out to them either. They do want to hear from you. They need referees, particularly young people who are eager to do it. They will work with you. They're all very nice people.
Expect to start at lower level games before you work up to the higher level ones because you just need to start on the bottom and then start working up.
Let's talk a little bit about what expenses you generally should expect. And we do ref in California, so all of this is for our local area. Your expenses may vary depending on where you are. But generally, the annual certification's around $70 a year as of this recording. If you're an adult, then there's an additional background check that you have to pay for. You do need to buy a kit. So if you buy 3 jerseys, hats, socks, shorts, depending on how many of each you buy, that can range between $100 and $200. Also, for the jerseys, there's the official USSF logo from Official Sports that's branded. Those can be closer to $50 each, or you can buy them on Amazon where they don't have the official logo for probably half that each. For higher level games, you do need to have the official logo, but for recreational starting out, you can buy from Amazon and get started that way. I do recommend that you have at least 3 colors in your bag and check with your local assigners on what they would recommend. Some assigners will tell you to start with only 2 colors in your bag. I do recommend that you do the 3 colors so that you've got some variability. For us, it's yellow, red, and green. Those are the 3. Other equipment that you'll need, a whistle, flags, the ref wallet for keeping scores, red and yellow cards, a watch, a flipping coin, and a bag to keep that stuff in. You can often get starter kits from places like Amazon for like $40, and it'll have most of this stuff in that kit. You may have to add on a couple of other things. You don't need the fanciest of watches. A $15 watch is simple enough and easy to get started. If you add all that up, it does range between about $200 and $400 to get started and get off the ground.
Now, this may seem like a lot of money, especially for younger referees, but in just 2 weekends, I refereed 10 games. I was paid $440. This is enough money to pay for your gear, even if it was the most expensive.
Now that we've talked about the expenses to get started, let's talk about how you just approach this as a job, and it's important to be professional. The assigners are essentially your boss in every aspect of this role. So it's important that you read and understand any communications that they send to you. They take extra time, put what they think all the referees that work for them need to know. They email those out on a regular basis. It's the minimum you can do to actually read and understand and apply what they tell you.
A very important thing to remember is that you should show up on time. Most people recommend that you show up 30 minutes before a game. And in special cases like a tournament, they may ask you to show up 45 minutes before kickoff. And though this may be annoying, it's a courtesy to your fellow referees so that they're not worrying where you're at while they have to check in players. They're doing a pregame with the other referees. So you should just show up 30 minutes before. The next point is to dress properly. You should show up to the field wearing all black. You shouldn't be wearing one of your jerseys before you actually get onto the field because you and your fellow referees decide which color that you're wearing.
It's also very important that you communicate any changes to your schedule as soon as you possibly can with your assigner. Everybody knows that things happen. Assigners understand that maybe you were playing soccer the day before and you got injured, maybe you're sick, maybe something happened. But as soon as you know that something needs to change, reach out to your assigner, let them know so that they can find somebody else to cover your match. Communication is the key, and the earlier the communication is, the better.
Another aspect is that you should take the job seriously. It is a job, even at lower level games. For instance, in tournaments, even if they're 11, 12, 13 years old, that tournament could be the World Cup to them. So take the job seriously because it just gives you more credibility on the field. One aspect to that is consider the perception of the spectators. If you know a player on the team, for instance, I have many friends that are currently playing soccer. What you shouldn't do is like come up to them, be buddy buddy, start talking with them because the perception of the spectators is, well, you know a lot of the players, so why should they think that maybe you're not biased for your friend, even if you're not?
Okay, let's talk about some practical advice for new refs on the field. First is install the IFAB app on your phone and read the laws of the game. But we don't expect that you're going to be able to quote specific passages right out of the gate. After each game, when situations happen and you remember, I thought I read that, go back into IFAB and read exactly what it says. And I'll tell you, everything that I know for sure about the laws of the game are because I probably made a mistake at some point in a game, and then I went back and I reread it. And now, because I had the practical experience of it happening in a game, I went back and read the exact language in the law. Now I know it for sure. Another practical tip is to pack a referee bag specifically with your referee gear in it. Keep that bag ready to go at any time. So after you've washed your clothes after a hot, sweaty weekend, put everything back in the bag so it's ready to go. That way you don't forget your watch, you don't forget your sunscreen, you don't forget a color that you need to wear. Everything's there ready to go.
Here are a few tips for ARs. The first one is that the offside line is your number one priority. It's not watching the play, it's not doing anything else, it's to watch that freaking line. Because if you're not watching that line, then easily the second to last defender can just move and you'll just be watching something else when you should be on that line. As a CR, they can tell if there's a foul. They can sometimes tell if it's out of bounds. What they can't tell is whether or not it's offside, especially in those close calls. That line is your responsibility as an AR. Out of bounds is number two, and everything else is a distant third. The next thing, on a corner kick, you should run down to the corner and then signal. And you need to get down to the corner anyway, so just make that run, make the signal crisp. It adds to your ethos on the field and it just looks way better. The last one that I'm going to talk about is that a correct decision is better than a decision. For instance, on the field, you might have micro movements, especially with signaling direction. Instead of popping your flag up super, super fast, then in some situations, the CR thinks that maybe it should be a different direction and they're already signaling a different way. This decreases your credibility on the field, especially if coaches see that.
recommend always make eye contact with the center referee before you go up and make sure you're going the same direction or he or she hasn't already signaled a different direction.
Yeah.
Some additional practical advice is to always secure your referee gear at a place on the field where at least one of you as referees can see it. Try to scope out a spot where there will be less people coming and going and where you can have better view of what might happen over there. We often find that you don't want to set it up near where spectators would be coming and going a lot because there's just a lot of traffic and people could nab something and walk away. If you find the low traffic area closer to teams is generally better, and off over in a corner where any activity in that area would jump out of the corner of your eye is recommended. Also, have a pregame and a postgame review meeting with your crew. So the center referee should have a pregame meeting with you as an AR and go over kind of what expectations are. Different referees have different expectations and different things that they expect. After the game, ask each other, what could you do better? Review. You don't have to sit down. This doesn't have to be a 30-minute debrief. It can be a simple 5-minute walking off the field. What did you see? What did we do wrong? What did we do right? And just take that advice. Oftentimes, it's those quick discussions that are your catalyst to then go back and reread certain laws of the game.
The last and most important point is that understand that you will make mistakes. People make mistakes in every single thing that they do. It may be smaller ones, it may be even bigger ones, but the most important part is to learn from each one.
The last thing I want to mention here is dealing with taxes and income from refereeing. And before you click away from the video, just understand while this isn't the most interesting topic, it can also be some of the most important. As a disclaimer, we're not actual tax accountants, so talk to the experts if you need specific advice. Also, we're here in California in the US, so our experiences with those tax laws. But referees are almost always independent contractors. So it's almost like you own your own business. You don't have to go start a special business. You just, by default, you're an independent contractor and they do not withhold taxes from your paycheck from the clubs. The IRS has rules that if you earn above X dollars per year, when that happens for us, those clubs notify the tax authorities and then they mail us a tax form at the beginning of each year saying how much we earn. So now we have to worry about filing our taxes. So what we do is we use an app on our phone, simple free app that we track all of our referee expenses. So everything that we buy, if we buy uniforms, if we buy socks, if I buy a new whistle, if I buy a new shade tent, if I buy new chairs, all of that stuff that I use for refereeing, we track as an expense, take a picture of the receipt. We also track our mileage. So, how much do we use our car driving to and from these games? That all becomes a tax write off for us. But do think about that because taxes do become a thing at the next year. And the threshold at where you need to start thinking about taxes is lower than you'd think it is. At least where we're at, it's kind of any profit. I think it's above $400 in a year. Then you have to file a tax form. And that may be different in your area. So, that's where the tax accountant or a tax expert is important. And the most important thing is just to track your expenses so that you can reduce that tax burden if you referee a lot.
Thank you for watching this video of Reffing with the Sappers. If you like our content, help us out by liking, subscribing, and sharing. And we'll see you out on the pitch. You know, basketball might make me get abs. Might make me more defined.
Why is riffing a great job for teenagers?
Okay. Look the camera, look at my nose. Let me cook.
Cook. You're cooking.
I am cooking.
Sorry.
I'm like sauteing stuff, right?
Okay, all right. Let me cook.
Let me cook.
Let me cook. All right.
Drake would be so happy.
You're almost saying it like you suck at the beginning, and I don't think that's what we should.
You
Even though maybe it's true.
You can do that. You can do that. I want this because I swear I will pop off. Smooth. What's snazzy?
All right. All right.